In an effort to drum up additional housing in Ontario, the Ford government introduced a sweeping set of measures to scale up construction. Laws that target everything from buildings around transit stations to the types of housing that could be fast-tracked.
We have made a commitment to get at least 1.5 million homes built by 2031. Today's legislation helps move the commitment forward in a substantial way.
The government is looking at a blanket approach to housing. Developers can choose from a list of provincially approved designs, including single-family homes, duplexes, and triplexes, which would receive faster approvals.
They will have a design approved in one community and move right next door to the next community and have to start the process all over again. So if we can do a bit more work on standardizing that.
To entice developers to build more high-rises near transit stations, the government is also removing some requirements for vehicles. Residential towers near transit stations would no longer have minimum requirements for parking. It means developers would only build as much parking as the market would need. The law would also turn universities into campus developers. They would no longer face planning and rezoning restrictions to help them build as much student housing as possible.
No universities approached me and said that they want to get into the real estate business. They don't want to be condo developers. Its focus is on student housing on lands that is owned by the universities.
But the bill also comes with major reversals. Municipalities were required to give builders a discount on development charges, fees that would help support new construction. The Ford government's discount was intended to make housing cheaper. Instead, cities claimed it robbed them of much-needed revenue. Developers will now have to pay in full, the only discount if they're building affordable housing. And ministers' zoning orders are also getting overhauled. The controversial tool allowed Queen's Park to overrule municipal planning and force through a development, leading to accusations of provincial meddling.
The government themselves have abused the process to such a great extent.
The government is now implementing controls to ensure transparency.
I do still, as minister, reserve the right to make the decision on any ministerial zoning order, but I think people made it very clear that they wanted more transparency involved in the process.
It's a process that applies to everyone, even if the request comes from the top. Critics at Queen's Park are panning this legislation, saying the government is simply tinkering around the edges. One of the reasons why is because they didn't make fourplexes an automatic right for developers to build in this province, like many had been forcing or asking the Premier to do. In fact, even when we asked government officials how many homes will this piece of legislation actually amount to, officials said they had no calculation to give us. Reporting live, I'm Colin DeMello. Back to you.
Thanks, Colin.